Alright, everyone, hello, and you know what? As we come into February, as we're sitting here in our Aquarius season month, all I gotta say is that whoever decided that the birthstone for February should be amethyst knew what they were doing. I'm stressed and tired. But another group of people that knew what they were doing, honestly, when they were deciding all of these associations with Aquarius, is deciding that Valerian Root should be associated with this sign and with this month. Just like lavender and chamomile, valerian is a very popular root, supplement, all these other kinds of things for sleep aid, right? It's a sedative, it's something that helps with anxiety, all these other kinds of things. It is something that people do actually take as an herbal remedy, something that's like over-the-counter level, right? But today, we're going to talk a little bit more about it, and as always, I will remind you once again, do not replace any of your actual medicine with herbal medicine unless you have doctor's approval and you really know what you're doing. Even something as simple as bay leaf tea can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. Just because it's an herb that you use in food doesn't mean that all concepts of dosaging and toxicology and all that other stuff go out the door. So be careful and just take this information with you to do whatever you'd like to do with it safely with doctor's permission. Now here's the thing about valerian. This has been around for a long time, from all the way to the ancient Greeks, across the Middle East, across Asia, everywhere else. A lot of people knew this plant to be something similar to spikenard, and you might have seen like references to spikenard in all kinds of different, ancient mythos, culture, religious texts, right? Like when we have, say, for instance, Jesus with the oil being poured out on his feet, that is spikenard oil, which is very precious stuff. Spikenard is something similar to lavender. It's very similar to lavender, and so valerian too has been compared often to lavender. It was specifically Theophrastus out there way back when in Greece that said the root of this plant reminded him a lot of spikenard, and this was like over 1,000 years ago out in Greece, out near the Aegean Sea. But pop it forward nearly 1,000 years, and we got Nicholas Culpeper, who, if you guys know how much I love Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs, one of the other people that is often associated with really good herbal remedies and medicine and stuff like that is Nicholas Culpeper, but he's coming from like 1784. The dude is quite an old source, so he might obviously have some inconsistencies and irregularities, but he also did talk a lot about this root. In his English Physician and Complete Herbal, he talked a bit about the uses of it as a removing phlegm, treating coughs, dealing with eye issues. If you put like a little bit of it like in your eyes, like a drop of oil and water, and like kind of cleaned your eyes out with that, that would be really helpful. And it might even be good for treating bites, stings of venomous animals and insects and other things like that. Again, I'm not super sure how good any of that information is nowadays, and maybe it still is. For the most part, though, a lot of people are just kind of using it for sedative qualities. But around Culpeper's day and further back in English folklore, it was also thought that this was a useful herb for all kinds of different things. Specifically, this was thought to increase your psychic abilities and also work as a bit of an aphrodisiac. And now there is some interesting crossover here when we have the concepts of spikenard or lavender. Lavender was thought to be a kind of smell or herb of brothel workers and other such things, right? So this was something that was associated with these kinds of workers, and so valerian being similar, it was thought that it too also could kind of work as an aphrodisiac, help women find love. Not necessarily become, workers of this trade, but just to find love in general. And as you might imagine, that does hint at some of our magical uses, right? So I found a couple different sources that had different things to say about what, like, planet and element that this plant is aligned with. If I look into Cunningham here, you can see what he says about it. Let's see. So Cunningham says that this has to do with Venus and water, that's got, love, sleep, purification, protection. But someone else also mentioned that it might be Mercury and air, and that makes a lot of sense, right? If the English are saying that, hey, this is good for helping increase psychic perception, well, Mercury and air are the planet and element that have to do with psychic abilities. So I could see where one would draw that from it as well. But because of its association with attracting love, with sleep, beauty, purification, all these other kinds of things, Venus, water also makes a lot of sense. Cunningham specifically says that some would, hang it in the house to guard against lightning, put it in the pillows to help fall asleep. A sprig of the plant pinned to a woman's clothing will cause men to follow her like children, right? So that's that English folklore again, that women who kind of carry this around, they're always going to have some dudes chasing after them. That's just what it does. Apparently, Greeks hung it to ward evil away, right? And powdered, it's sometimes used as graveyard dust, whatever that means. Mr. Cunningham. But again, since Aquarius itself is an air sign, you could also say it's more associated with air as well. Definitely has something to do with thinking outside the box because of its association with Aquarius, right? Like dreams, innovation, big ideas, kind of putting out more of that energy of expansion into the world. And since it has something to do with protection and purification as well, you might also think of it as a tool to use in preparation for moon rituals, be they new moon or full moon. Full moon especially because it's associated with all that psychic power, harvesting, things like that. Valerian might be really useful. And of course, going back to medicinally, as we've discussed some of the old school thoughts about it before, medicinally, Valerian is really good as a sedative. In fact, did you know that the name brand Valium actually takes its name from Valerian? Valium is a name brand of a thing called diazepam, which is like basically a sedative. It's something that helps people fall asleep, deals with insomnia and like anxiety and other things like that. Valerian is like the really old school version of that. You don't want to take them at the same time though. Do not do that. Nope. And that's really its main use, although it might also help if you're a little bit sick and you have a cough or you have like kind of like a stuffy nose or any kind of phlegm like that. It can help with that as well. This is something that you could probably pretty easily find as like a capsule or a supplement. However, again, be careful with it. Don't just start taking things because they sound like they're helpful. Don't do that. And interestingly enough, this is our first herb / spice, whatever, that doesn't really have any culinary uses. There is a salad called valerian. It's kind of like this green leafy vegetable, but that's not the same thing as valerian root. And valerian root is usually what people are looking for both in the witchcraft circles and in the medicinal circles. So, this is a good opportunity actually to step out of the kitchen and more into the apothecary if you wanted to start getting more into that side of kitchen witchery, right? Which is more just the pure green witchery at that point. But it is still useful. If you're someone who likes to make tinctures and oils and other kinds of home remedies, valerian has a place on that shelf. Unfortunately, the flavor of it, the rootiness of it just really doesn't have a place in actual day-to-day food. So do with that what you will. At most, you could maybe make a tea out of the root, but like, it's probably not gonna be that great. You know what I mean? Nonetheless, as a kitchen witch, I still do have my little odds and ends herbs in my kind of witchy cabinet over here. Yeah, a lot of my stuff that I use is food because I'm already buying it for food. I might as well use it for magic too. But I do still have a few things, right? Like hawthorn berries or like, frankincense and myrrh and like some other items that are spell only, not for consumption. So it's like not against the rules as a kitchen witch to do that, especially because it does have uses as an apothecary item. Nonetheless, I hope this was helpful for you guys, and I will see you next time for some more kitchen witch discussions. See ya!